Welcome back to World Crisis Radio. So we're just completing our rundown of the $3.3 trillion of federal credit, U.S. government-generated credit that was distributed not to the producers, the laborers, even the consumers here in the United States, but to foreign bankers, foreign hedge funds, and various kinds of predatory financial interests. And this must end. The Federal Reserve has got to be nationalized, and the credit-generating facility that belongs to the American people has got to be restored to them. We're not talking about getting rid of it. That would simply increase the unbridled power of the Wall Street savages. But we're talking about nationalization and harnessing that engine to put people back to work. We need 100 high-temperature, fourth-generation pebble-bed nuclear reactors built. We need 100,000 miles of maglev. Get ahead of China. Get ahead of China on the nuclear front, too. We need to rebuild the interstate highway system. We need to rebuild the water systems, sewage systems, canal systems of this country. We need 1,000 state-of-the-art hospitals. We need, in effect, to rebuild the hard and soft infrastructure of the country. We need to put massive investments into an aerospace program, the permanent colonization, exploration, and industrial production on the moon, Mars, and the nearby objects in the solar system. We need a high-energy physics program to unlock the secrets of thermonuclear fusion power, and we need a biomedical research facility that will actually allow savings on costs by curing the dread diseases, heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and all the rest, cured so that nobody needs to die for the bottom line, but their lives can be saved and money can be saved in the process. So that's what we want to do with that money. We want that money for ourselves. We want that money for a recovery. And if you just leave it to the free market, it'll go into derivatives even more readily than it does today. Forget the free market. It's a myth. It's a slave ideology. It's baloney bunk, and anybody who believes it is interested in cutting their own throat. Just a couple of other details on this. We mentioned Harley-Davidson cashing in. Caterpillar, another politically connected firm, also cashed in on the emergency Fed lending. And again, in this case, why not do it the way I say? In other words, you want to help Caterpillar, it's a fine idea. We need to produce tractors. We need to produce them in the Quad Cities out there in Illinois and Iowa, not someplace else. But in order to do that, you basically say, well, let's rebuild the interstate highway system, and the net result would be that Caterpillar would find plenty of contracts. They could probably double or triple the amount of employees that they have. Harley-Davidson borrowed 33 times for a total of $2.3 billion. Couple of other ones. The Korean Development Bank from the Republic of Korea, several $billions. And in the foreign bank category, I don't think we've mentioned BNP Paribas. This one was one that was tending to blow up in January, February of 2008. Union Bank of Switzerland, and Deutsche Bank. As some of these names come up more than once, it's because we're talking about different facilities. We've also got Citigroup. They were going bankrupt. Remember, Citi went bankrupt several times in September, October, November 2008. In November 2008, they borrowed almost $19 billion at one fell swoop from the Fed. Goldman Sachs, of course, cashing in. The market was broken, so they had to fix it with your money. Who's attacking? Well, Bernie Sanders says the American people are finally learning the incredible and jaw-dropping details of the Fed's multi-trillion-dollar bailout of Wall Street and corporate America. This is all fine. It's easy to take potshots at this. What are you going to do about it? I have a plan. Where's your plan? My plan is nationalize it, and indeed, you can manufacture money out of thin air. As long as you have those factories sitting idle and those unemployed workers, you shoot some money in there, you put them together. We've got a need for infrastructure in this country, which I estimated at $10 trillion a decade ago in the first edition of Surviving the Cataclysm. Now we're up to 15 trillion. We may be pushing 20 trillion. So 3.3 trillion would be a good start, a good down payment on what you actually have to do. But we want that credit facility for us, not for the zombie bankers, not for the hedge funds. Right now they have it, and if you simply abolish the Fed, they'll have it even more. So get wise on that one. But let's go through the list again. Agency mortgage-backed securities purchase program, buying toxic assets. Central bank liquidity swap lines. This was this was in the trillions at different times. This was to bail out, to help out foreign central banks. It essentially makes the Fed the central bank of central banks in many ways, the servant of not just the finance oligarchs of the United States, but of the world. The term auction facility, TAF, we talked about that. The primary dealer credit facility, PDCF. This is primary dealers of U.S. government securities. The list is published. It's 15 or 20 firms, and this gave special privileges to them, but also, I think, to others. Term Securities Lending Facility, TSLF, and TSLF Options Program. We're going to have to delve into that. Bailing out options, bailing out derivatives there, too. Asset-backed commercial paper money market mutual fund liquidity facility, AMLF. We've talked about that one. Commercial paper funding facility, CPFF, commercial paper funding facility. Has a nice ring to it. Term asset-backed securities loan facility. Bear Stearns, J.P. Morgan Chase, and Maiden Lane, LLC. Maiden Lane is the street where the New York branch of the Federal Reserve is located, and as you'll see, we have some of these entities carry the name of Maiden Lane. So this is to bail out J.P. Morgan Chase as they absorb the carcass of Bear Stearns, which had been destroyed by collateralized debt obligations in these hedge funds and elsewhere in that very sleazy investment bank. And then we have the American International Group, AIG, Maiden Lane 2 and 3. So Maiden Lane 2 and 3 are other front companies of the New York Fed, which are used to bail out AIG and its its London hedge fund, who had issued about $3 trillion of toxic derivatives, in this case in the form of credit default swaps. Right? Remember, the CDOs, collateralized debt obligations, brought down Bear, Lehman, Merrill, Citibank, and really all of them. But in the specific case of AIG, it was the credit default swaps that then concentrated there. So this, I believe, is some kind of an overview of what's going on. Of course, we could add to this list, right? The hedge fund hyena lending facility, HFHLF. Hedge Fund Hyena Lending Facility. How about ZBLF, Zombie Banker Lending Facility? How about FJLF, Foreign Jackal Lending Facility? You could have, Enemies of the U.S. Lending Facility, right? Or Reward for Stab in the Back on Lehman Brothers, Perfide Albion Lending Facility, and on and on. So this is the reality. This is somehow a reductio ad absurdum. They're willing to lend it to anybody who's a criminal, anybody who's a parasite. But if you have a plan for infrastructure, or indeed for doing something for the 99ers, or restoring some unemployment insurance benefits under the Social Security Act of 1935, well, then the answer gets to be no. Goldman Sachs are complete hypocrites. They did take the money. It's time to shut down these zombie banks. The alternative to this, of course, would have been on the banking side to simply enforce the law. You'd shut down virtually all the money center banks. You'd switch over to credit generation through the nationalized Fed, the Bank of the United States. That would be available to the surviving regional and local banks, and you could start the recovery through a rediscount guarantee in that context. So we'll be back in a minute here on World Crisis Radio.